Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Yes.
SpaceX, this is Mission Control, Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Gwynne Shotwell from SpaceX. How do you hear me?
Hey, Gwynne, we hear you loud and clear.
It's so great to see you both. The last time we saw each other was like 19 days ago, I think. A quick 19 days ago in the suit-up room before you lifted off from 39A. I'm so pleased
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's gone. Oh.
No, go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that's it's amazing that was 19 days ago. But I got to say, big shout out to everybody at SpaceX. You know, through your partnership with NASA, you're the reason we're here. You're the reason that we had an incredible ride up to the space station, and you're the reason why there's 7 people on board station right now. And I got to tell you, it is exciting up here right now. There is so much happening. There is every comm loop, every video loop, you name it, where there's people going everywhere. It's exciting to be up here, and so big congratulations to all of you at SpaceX.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how pleased and relieved I am that the uphill part of this mission went as smoothly as it did. By the way, my employees are so excited for this event. We got hundreds of questions, and unfortunately, we had to skinny it down to just a few. But I'm really looking forward to sharing what our great SpaceX team is thinking about for you guys. Great. Are you ready?
Yeah, excellent. We're excited to answer. Yes, we are ready.
Fantastic. Okay, so the first question comes from Eric Ruiz, who's a propulsion technician in Raptor Machining. And his question is, what were your thoughts as you were walking across the crew access arm?
So my initial thoughts were, don't trip. No, actually, you know, it's one of the things you're thinking about is this really happening, right? Because, you know, it's a long process from the time you start training to the time you actually lift off. And so, you know, we had some launch slips along the way. And so as you're walking across that arm, you're still not sure if it's really going to happen because there's a lot of launch criteria that still have to be met before you lift off the pad. So that's at least what I was thinking.
And I was thinking all of that, and I was also thinking about sort of the historic nature of walking across that access arm to the White Room. My first launch was out of Baikonur, and now I got to launch out of Florida, so being able to launch where so many of my fellow astronauts had launched previously was something really special.
Great. Okay, from Justin Owens, who's a CNC programmer. CNC is computerized numerically controlled programmer in the machining department. My son Mason would like to know if the SpaceX suits are comfortable, and you can be totally candid here, by the way, and how they compare to standard or other spacesuits with respect to comfort.
Well, I think the first thing to know about spacesuits is they're really made for to fit you when you're sitting down. So when you're standing up, they're not quite tall enough, and so they're not quite as comfortable as they are when you're sitting in the spacecraft. Would you agree there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I would say that one thing that I have found about the SpaceX spacesuits is, to me, the helmet feels very, very heavy. It's there for your head protection, which is hugely important, but I think it's going to be even more heavy when I land after 6 months.
Yeah, I found the suit very comfortable. Big shout out to Chris and Maria and Eric and the entire suit team. I think they did a fantastic job with it. I do find it fairly simple to get in. It is easier to get in space than it is down on the ground and get out of it. So overall, I think a great suit.
Okay, that's great to hear. And there's good feedback in there too, so I appreciate that. Okay, Colin Gibbons, who is a lead site reliability engineer in software development, is asking, What were each of the crew's, well, each of your biggest impressions of the experience and sensations associated with the Falcon 9 ride to orbit? This question gets asked a lot, actually. So how does it feel to ride in a Dragon on top of the beast named Falcon 9?
Yeah, wow. I tell you, I don't know if there's words really to properly describe what that felt like. You know, you talk about sitting on a Dragon on top of the beast, and it definitely was. You knew you were going somewhere. You know, it actually all started earlier than that when we were doing the fueling operations, and it's talking to you the whole time. It's very, very interesting to hear all of the noises that are going on from the fueling. But then once we lifted off the pad, man, it was exciting. It was an incredible ride. The throttle down, when it throttled back up, boy, you felt it. You knew you were going somewhere. The staging was incredible. We were all just smiling and beaming and high-fiving, and it was an amazing experience.
Yep. And I would add to that everything that he said, and then just the G-loads that you get. And compared to the Soyuz, it's a completely different experience. In the Soyuz, you'll peak at about 4.5 Gs, and the Gs drop off, and that's all you get through the 3 stages. The 2 stages on the Falcon, you're just increasing your G-load the whole time. So by the time the first stage ends, you're about 3.3 Gs. Second stage, it just keeps going up and up and up till you're about 4.5. But the time you spend between 3.5 and 4.5 Gs is quite long, and so you feel like your face is being pushed back.
Well, you looked great, by the way. We were inches away from our computer monitors watching you guys, and we all appreciated the high fives as well. Okay, a question from Nienta, who is a PCB designer in the avionics core engineering team. What is the major difference between, well, this is now redundant, sorry. What is the major difference between riding the Soyuz and the Crew Dragon to the ISS? We heard a little bit about the G loading, but are there other elements about the differences?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. This was my second flight, right? And so I would say one of the big differences, I was probably more aware of everything on the second flight than the first flight. Things happened, at least for me, happened faster on that first one. I was able to keep up with things and feel things and be aware of things probably a little bit better on this flight than I was on the other one. And of course, the other difference for me, when we talk about all the way to station, you know, my Soyuz flight was only 6 hours, and this one was a little bit longer. So we actually had to live in Dragon for quite a while, and I have to say it was pretty comfortable. I was very happy with how it worked out in terms of, you know, when we needed some privacy, we were able to get that and do everything that we needed to do during that 27 hours to get to station.
Yep, I would agree. It's a little bit more spacious than a Soyuz. My ride to the station on the Soyuz was 2 days, and so only a little over a day was much better. But you have more room to move about in on the Dragon.
Okay, great. Listen, I appreciate that. All right, Mitch Cleland, a senior test development engineer here in McGregor, Texas, is asking, what appliances, so this is more futuristic, what appliances would you include in the cabin of the next generation spacecraft for greatest quality of life on long duration voyages?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you talk about long duration, to me, we're talking about something a little bit different than Dragon, which is, you know, of course, meant for the short duration. And so, you know, when we talk about long duration up here on the International Space Station, one of the things that it's kind of a simple thing. It's a day-to-day type thing, but it's something that we're constantly having to figure out or find ways to do it, and that's just general hygiene and things of that nature. We don't really have a place up here that's dedicated for that, and so, you know, we're kind of having to move around bags, or you're trying to do stowage operations, and at the same time someone's trying to clean up after a big workout and all of that. So I would say, at least for me, I think some of the simple things are important. They sometimes can get overlooked, but I think you need to spend some time on them, and having a place that's dedicated for hygiene and those kind of activities. And when I say that, I don't just mean going to the bathroom. Obviously, we need that, but I'm talking about places where you can clean up, wash your hair, do those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're talking long duration, like on a trip to Mars, you will definitely need a hygiene station, and then you're going to need things like how do you do laundry on station? We don't do laundry, so we wear our clothes, and after a certain amount of time, we throw them away. Well, that's not very efficient. And if it's really long duration, then you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with all the trash that's generated. And there is a lot of trash that's generated, not the least of which is your clothes, your food trash, which will smell over time, and just all kinds of things. So trash compaction, trash management needs to happen.
That's super helpful, actually, as we're working on Starship. That's great. Okay, Ben Arquette, a lead avionics harness technician, is asking, what is something you learned from your trip to the ISS as the first fully operational 4-person Crew Dragon mission? So maybe something that you learned new compared to Bob and Doug's experience.
I think one of the things that we learned and really took care with was living in the Dragon and how you do that. Since we spent a whole day there, you really have to have a lot of choreography and planned choreography to do the things you need to do, getting out of your suits, getting in your suits, distributing food to eat, because while it is more spacious than a Soyuz, it can get pretty crowded when you have a bunch of stuff out there. So managing your stuff, how you deal with it, and how you deal with it with 4 people.
Yeah, I think exactly what Shannon said, and I'll maybe say it in a little bit different words. I think you have to be deliberate. Yeah. Everything that we're doing up there, from the time after separation, when we're getting out of the suits and we're having our first meal or we're changing into our clothes, all of that had to be very deliberate in who was doing what, when. And because if we weren't that way, it would have been just a bunch, on the video cameras, you would have seen just a bunch of arms and legs and yeah, it'd have been chaos. And the reason for that, though, is because the whole time we also need to be ready for any kind of an emergency that could pop up. And so that means as you do certain things, you clean up immediately afterwards as well. And so I think having 4 people on board really emphasized the need to do that, because you just don't have as much space as you think or as much time as you think if something like that should pop up.
Got it. So a question from Jesse Leatherwood's daughter. He's a project manager here in Texas, South Texas, actually. So my daughter, Chelsea, would like to know approximately what day into the mission starts feeling routine, so just a normal day, as opposed to, my goodness, I'm here on station, everything is totally new. So like approximately what day do you feel settled in?
Well, I guess more than the days we've been up here now. Nothing, for me, it's never routine, I guess, in the sense of every day is exciting, right? Every day that you wake up and you get to float to go down to the bathroom and to breakfast and all of that is a little bit exciting. So from that, I'm still not there. Yeah. In terms of getting settled in, I think we get settled in pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. It's always still exciting to be here. We get the giggles when we're like, oh, we're doing this unexciting task, but we're doing it in space. Yeah. But by the same token, since it's our second flight, it feels very familiar. And so it was easy to get into the routine of what the ground needed us to do. And we've been working hard and have some really long days. So it's a combination answer.
Okay. I thought that was a great question from Chelsea. Okay, Shannon, this one's for you from Mary Toledo, who's electromechanical technician on the Starlink program up in Seattle. She says, it's truly incredible to see a woman fly on the NASA Crew 1 mission and serve as flight engineer. What advice do you have for us to reach our dreams, whichever that may be, in our STEM careers, so we too can reach the stars like you?
That is such a great question. I think first and foremost is to not be afraid to go after your dreams. All too often I encounter people that say to me that they would really like to be an astronaut, and then I ask them, well, have you ever applied? And the answer is almost inevitably no, they haven't. You've got to go get it, because whatever you are looking for in the world, it's probably not going to come and reach out and pluck you up to do that job. I think the other things that you need to do or be aware of is believe in yourself. I think all too often people, especially women, are their own worst critics, and most people are much better than they think they are. And so you've got to believe that. You've got to do things you like. If you're passionate about what you do, you will be very good at it. You will do well, and people will notice you. And then I think the last thing, which is kind of important, is that if you're at point A and you're trying to get to point B, know that from A to B is not always a straight line. In fact, sometimes it's better not to be a straight line. If you deviate along the way towards your goal, you're going to gain so many more experiences that are probably applicable to whatever you want to do in life.
That's awesome, Shannon. That's a great answer. Thank you. Okay, I've got another question here from Amanda Vargas, who is a CNC, computerized numerically controlled machinist in our panel shop in Hawthorne. What was the biggest factors for your successes?
So I think for me anyway, it's probably just having that little bit of grit. You know, and that's kind of, as Shannon mentioned, following your dream, but then never giving up on that dream. And I think Shannon and I would both tell you that along our career paths, we've had some setbacks. And it's what I think really those probably help define you more than your successes, because when you have something that doesn't go quite right and yet you're able to overcome that, I think oftentimes that says more about you. So anyway, that's, I would say a little bit of grit gets you there.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I guess just even starting out, I had a good family that was supportive and willing to believe in me. And so finding a circle of friends or family that will help you achieve what you want to do is important too, and it's very worthwhile.
Great. Okay, final question from the employees, and if we have time, I'm going to ask one of my own. If not, totally fine to skip. This is from Ruben Schuff, the Senior Propulsion Analyst in the Liquid Engine Development Program. What do you believe are the most important reasons? This is a great question. What are the most important reasons for human space exploration?
Well, I think the boss, your boss says it pretty well, and that's that, you know, we want to become an interplanetary species, and I think that is true. I also do believe that it's in our nature. We're just curious. Humans are curious, and so I would say if not us, who then, right? So let's go do it.
Yep, those are pretty much my two reasons. There's no one reason to do space exploration, but it is, we need to get out there, we need to understand the universe, and we need to survive as a species, and space exploration is going to be part of that.
Fantastic. Do I have time? Okay, quick question. Do either of you have a personal thing or statement that you make to yourself before you launch? We call it at SpaceX Launch Juju. Do you do anything regularly before a launch?
I know, I don't launch that often, so I don't know if an N of 2 is going to be worth much. Let's see, don't fall asleep. I don't know.
Don't trip.
Actually, so it is kind of an interesting question. So, you know, I think our experiences from earlier in life and going all the way back to high school, to college, help prepare us for these moments. And for me, I oftentimes go back to my experience at the University of Illinois and playing football and things of that nature. And so the way I prepared for football games when I was playing there is oftentimes very similar to getting ready to go out for the launch, getting ready to go out on an EVA or things of that nature. The way you mentally prepare, the way you physically prepare. And so I kind of just followed those same things that I've been doing all my life. And, you know, you talked about walking down that tunnel, the access arm, and it kind of reminded me of walking out a tunnel, getting ready for a football game and getting ready to run out onto that field. And a lot of those same emotions are there as you're getting ready to it. And so, believe it or not, those experiences help you handle the emotions of the moment when you're getting ready to launch, for example.
That's great. Thank you both. I'm getting the wrap up. I'm getting the wrap up. Be quick. I want to thank you for this time.
Okay.
And let you know that everybody at SpaceX is hoping and praying for your successful downhill part of this flight and success on station as well.
Yeah, I do want to say thank you on behalf of the entire crew, on behalf of NASA, on behalf of the nation, on behalf of our families. We certainly are very happy with the first half of this mission, but obviously it is a long mission. I did want to add just one little thing. I also wanted to say thank you for letting me sleep in Dragon. In case anybody is curious as well, Resilience snores and talks in her sleep a little bit, and so I'm still getting used to all of those things, but it is nice to have a room with a view. And again, I just can't tell you how excited we were to launch on that vehicle, how excited the ride was up to the space station, how excited we are to be here on board the space station. Again, there is just so much happening on board right now, and we can't say thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you in April.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants from SpaceX Station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.